type of thing, and you kind of work your way through. One of the habits that my father developed was he always read the proverb that corresponded with the day of the month. And that's why when I was growing up, and still I hear a lot of proverbs. When I was growing up, go to the ant, you sluggard. And I would hear these things. But the proverbs are good. This opening passage serves as a preamble, a thesis statement for the entire book, this passage that we're going to look at today. It sets the tone for what wisdom is, where it comes from, and why it matters. Most of these are attributed to King Solomon. We just finished covering another book of his with Ecclesiastes. But the opening seven verses actually function as a purpose statement. So that's why it's titled The Purpose of Proverbs. If somebody has their Bible or even their phone with Proverbs 1 and would be willing just to read 1 through 7 for us, and then we'll look at last week's results and we'll make a plan for what's going to happen with that.
These are the Proverbs of Solomon, David's son, king of Israel. Their purpose is to teach people wisdom and discipline, to help them understand the insights of the wise. Their purpose is to teach people to live disciplined and successful lives, to help them do what is right, just, and fair. These proverbs will give insight, simple, knowledge and discernment to the young. Let the wise listen to these proverbs and become even wiser. Let those with understanding receive guidance. By exploring the meaning in these proverbs and parables, the words of the wise and their riddles. Fear of the Lord is the foundation of true knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and discipline.
Okay, so we're going to break that down in just a little bit and have a look at that, and you'll see how this is a good book to go to, particularly if you're like, well, I just finished my Bible read through and I don't want to start in Genesis again. You might follow what my dad does. Other people have done it where they read 3 Psalms a day and then the proverb for the day. And they have that as a habit. Sometimes they'll read the Psalms in the morning and the Proverbs in the afternoon or in the evening, or the proverb in the morning to kind of get you straightened out, in the Psalm in the evening so that you end the day worshiping the Lord, however you want to do it. But let's look at the results. We don't have everybody here today, obviously. My poor wife, she Sunday afternoon snooze, she hit that thing like a rock. And she was out all afternoon, which is very rare for her. So here's the results of what we had. You notice a little trophy there. There was a team that broke 500. Would the Jazzy Cats, anybody who belongs to the Jazzy Cats, just stand up. We'll give these guys a round of applause. I think there was 30 of them on that team.
Yep.
No, I think, was Josh on there too in Isaiah? Okay, because Isaiah was very excited about things. Josh tries to play it cool, But anyway, I was impressed. I know it's not the greatest name in the world, but hey, I was impressed with the old Bats. If you look at the score, the 3 of them carried all the way through. There's lots of effort there, and I appreciate that, and particularly with a name like that to, get that put on the plaque and put that on your wall, right? Anyway, you guys realize that the verses that we're memorizing are not verses that, well, some of them we were familiar with. The Lord's Prayer was in there and things like that, but some of these were challenges. These are not verses that are necessarily you find on any verse list. So, to get to over 300 points, everybody, and even one group over 500 points, you're looking at a lot of trying. And we'd be silly to say that the verses are solidly as memorized as we would want them to be. But that's why we reviewed them and reviewed them and reviewed them and reviewed them, and hopefully some of it stuck. And some of that comes back to memory. Go to the ant, you sluggard. Anyway, got all kinds of good memories from that. Well, let's look at the first verse in Proverbs 1. It tells us the title. Pretty straightforward, isn't it? What are we about to get into? Well, we're about to get into the Proverbs of Solomon, son of David, king of Israel. This establishes the author, Solomon, establishes the authority. He was the king. He weighs out instruction. Tells us, well, we will come to learn that wisdom is not an abstract philosophy like they like to play in schools now, where your wisdom or your truth is okay, and that truth might be different, but it's okay too. It's meant to shape how people live and govern. Anybody have any idea what the word proverb means? Good guess. Wise writing. The Hebrew, actually, it looks like martial. The Hebrew word, if you know how they spell it in English for us, so we can sound it out. It simply means a comparison or a wise saying. They're practical, memorable truths, not abstract reflections. Now, one of the things we need to say about the Proverbs when we get into it is they're not like the Ten Commandments. Thou shalt not kill or murder. Let's be okay. They're not like that. They're these little peppy sayings that lead us to the truth, but you have to take them and you have to apply them in certain circumstances. Because there is there are, the famous one is the one that contradicts, right? Don't correct a fool in his folly, lest you be disregarded, or something like that. I'm paraphrasing. And then it turns around the very next verse, correct a fool in his folly, lest he be wise in his own eyes, type of thing. Okay? So they're not necessarily absolute, where we say, this is hard and fast, this is a line in the sand. No. They're meant to help us in various circumstances. So we have to take the wisdom that's given to us in the Proverbs, and we have to apply it to circumstances in our lives. Okay. Next, we have the purpose of Proverbs. Why? And we're going to go through them. Here's the first one. Moral and mental discernment. To know wisdom and instruction. To understand words of insight. Wisdom is a practical skill in living. Its instruction implies discipline and correction. And so it directs us morally. To understand words of insight, the ability to grasp the deeper meaning behind what's being said. It's a critical skill, and it can be learned. Okay, so number one, it's moral and mental discernment. Number two, it's for ethical living. This is verse 3. To receive instructions in wise dealing, in righteousness, justice, and equity. So what do you guys think? Sounds like a DEI hire? What did they say? Equity, no, diversity, equity, inclusion. So equity is in there. See, they steal all the good words, don't they? Wisdom isn't purely intellectual. Wisdom shows up in right conduct. It shows up in our actions. Righteousness, a right relationship with God, justice, fair treatment of others, equity, and impartiality. These are all fruits of true wisdom. The idea of equity. I treat one individual with the same dignity and respect that I would treat another. Now, the circumstances may all change, and it might look totally different, but my purpose is to treat them well. Okay? Purpose. Okay, there it is. It's for the simple and the young. To give prudence to the simple and knowledge and discretion to the youth. Anybody young here? At least put yourselves in that category. Oh, you're 10 now. She's asleep. You think you're young still, Amariah? 18, aren't you? Oh boy. Oh, some in the back. Louis, you don't think you're young anymore? Oh, good. What's the word simple mean? When you think of somebody who's simple, what do you think? Okay, lacks the skill of functioning properly. They just don't know. Yeah, they're not meaning to be awkward. They're not they just don't know. Sometimes you see this in somebody that's young. But I like the fact that they put both in here. To give prudence. See, the simple will step into areas and things that they really shouldn't be moving into because they just don't know. And so they do. They need prudence. Knowledge and discretion to the youth. I like the fact that it's right what we need. The simple, they're not fools in the negative sense. They just are naive. They don't have experience. This is an invitation. Wisdom is accessible to beginners, even young people. You hear all these kinds of sayings, you can't fix stupid. No, you can. Go to the Proverbs. Louis, are you contradicting Scripture?
Somebody else agrees with me up there. Oh, we're thinking about horses, sorry.
Horses, yeah. Horses might be in a different category. Somehow my little banner got off, but that's okay. For the wise and the mature, the purpose. Let the wise hear and increase in learning. And the one who understands obtain guidance in understanding, or to understand a proverb and a saying, the words of the wise and their riddles. So the idea of wise here, it's one of those things you have to understand. You can start growing in your wiseness, and we're hoping you will, when you're young. Stone, I still consider you young. So start growing in your wiseness. But you never end. Even when you get old like me, you're still trying to be wise. You're still trying to learn. You're still trying to grow. There's a humbling that comes with the seeking lifelong wisdom. And you will find out that that's one of the main characteristics is humility. So you've got a list here: proverbs, parables, sayings, and riddles. wisdom sometimes takes patient contemplation, reflection for interpretation. Not everything is straightforward. And you figure that out in life when you start going through it. It's just not cut and dry. I know some people have a tendency, we say that they're black and white. Some things are black and white. We acknowledge that, but not everything. And when you're dealing with people, it's really hard to tell the difference. So we always seek to extend one another some grace. All right. So that's the purpose. It's to give us wisdom. It's for the simple and the young. It's for the wise and mature. So here's the foundation. We're already getting to the end of the section. The foundation. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. Fools despise wisdom and instruction. Help me understand this. What does it mean to fear the Lord? Reverence is a big part. We hold him in his proper place. He's God, not me. Submission comes, it'll come out of the fear of the Lord, won't it? We put ourselves under his word. We say, Lord, I don't. I'm gonna do what you want me to do. See, this is not a terror. It's what Dan said. It's like a reverent awe. It's the recognition that God is the ultimate reference point for truth, for morality, and for reality. Fear here simply means taking God extremely seriously and taking what he says seriously. Serious enough that you would actually order your life around what he says he wants. Now you notice that it says the fear of the Lord is the beginning. It doesn't say the fear of the Lord is knowledge, or the fear of the Lord is wisdom in this case. It says it is the beginning. What do you think that means? That's where we start, yeah. That's exactly where we start. First, we recognize who God is and what he has, and we submit ourselves under his authority, and we can start to grow in wisdom. So it's just a start. It's not the chronological start necessarily. It's almost like what Rod hinted at. You jump in there. It's the foundation. It's the bed. It's the first thing. Without reverence for God, knowledge is unanchored. It doesn't have anything to attach to. And that's why even in Sunday school this morning, was it in Sunday school? But I went to the Trojan Pride Assembly on Friday with the third graders. And the teacher was very good. She said, when Mr. Fan air guy gets turned off, don't scream. It scares the little kids. And so what happened when Mr. Fan air guy got turned off? Every class but ours screamed and scared the little kids. Anyway, they act as if he's dying, but he's not. He's just a fan guy. Anyway, what they were doing was they introduced the character qualities that they're going to be studying. And the first one was kindness. So they studied, that was last week's. And this new one is respect. And one of the statements that the gal made was that every single person has value. They're valuable. But she left it at that. She couldn't go far enough to say, because we're made in God's image. Because in our world, our value gets based on all kinds of things. If you're a good three-point shooter, boy, you're valuable to the team. If you're good in math, boy, I wish I was like you. You're valuable. If you're a good kickball player on recess, boy, I want you on my team. You know, you're valuable. And yes, it is true. We need to respect each other. It is true. We need to understand the value of each individual person. But I think we need to know where that value actually comes from. We're not valued because we bring skills to the situation, or wisdom, or material wealth, or simple good looks, right, Harlan? We're valued because we're made in God's image. And then we could talk about what that means. All right. Fools despise wisdom and instruction. I put all the words of Hebrew in here, and fool is K-E-S-I-L, Kessel. So those of you who do not have children yet and may have children in the future, mark that off your list of names. Okay? Kessel. No, don't do it. A fool isn't someone in Proverbs who lacks intelligence, but someone who rejects correction and lives as if they're accountable to nothing higher. So a fool in Proverbs is not the simple that has already been mentioned, the one who just doesn't know. The fool is the one who knows and rejects. So they know the truth, they are just not interested in it. The contrast is intentional. Wisdom begins with humility before God, and foolishness begins with dismissing God's instructions. Okay, so we've got lots to look forward to. I think I might have some slides with some application here. Number 1, wisdom and folly. I just put folly at the end. Wisdom is practical. It's not merely physiological. I can't believe I put that word down there. Anyway, it shows in how you treat other people. Have you ever dealt with somebody and they're in a tough situation and they come in and they just make it, they just work it all out. And you're just sit back and amazed. Wow, how did they do that? Well, they were wise. They knew how to deal with people properly and respectfully. Shows up in the decisions you make. Shows up in how you handle conflict. So wisdom is very practical. Number 2, wisdom is for everything. For everyone at every stage. The naive can begin. The wise continue. No one graduates from needing instruction, even a 10-year-old. An 18-year-old. 54-year-old. Who's the oldest in here? No, I'm just kidding. Anyway.
Oh, no, sorry, Judy.
Louis still needs instruction. Let's just say it that way. Right, Louis?
Yeah.
You do.
Learn something new every day.
It's for everyone. Wisdom requires a posture of humility. Both the fear of the Lord and the willingness to hear and increase that comes from our passage depend on acknowledging that we don't have it all figured out. And I have to admit that there are times when church people seem to be quite arrogant about some things. They have it very much figured out. We've talked about this before. You know, it is wrong. And we come at it with great zeal, and we end up becoming legalistic. Humility is a very, very important posture when we're trying to be wise. Again, one of those things where we don't take ourselves overly serious. We recognize that the situation that we find others in, we could have easily gotten into the same trouble that they got into, or that we find them in. That's why one of my principles of life that sounds kind of silly, but when somebody walks in the door of this church, we take them where they are. And then we try to lead them to where they could be in Christ. We have not arrived yet. You know, it's still kind of, you know, people say things like, well, if I were to enter that building, it would fall down on my head. You know, they act like they're big sinners or something. No. We're sinners gathering together, hoping to learn the wisdom and truth of God. So it requires humility. And then I put one on here for folly. Folly is a choice, not a condition. The fool isn't someone who can't learn, he is someone who won't learn. The dividing line between wisdom and folly is the receptiveness of God's correction, not raw intelligence. We all know people who are incredibly intelligent and yet act very foolishly. So folly is a choice. It's a decision. Happens to be a bad one. And the emergency truck in Johnson Township's fire department, going out the door, above the door it says, "Don't do stupid stuff." Okay? And it's just a simple reminder. You have the decision. You have the choice. You've been trained. You know what to do. Decide to do it the way it's supposed to be done. To be a fool is to ignore all of that stuff and to just rush in. And yes, some foolish things do happen. All right. Now, I've got to figure out how to get you guys to engage with these things a little bit more. So it's not just a monologue. So if you have suggestions, Proverbs is a hard section of Scripture to deal with from a platform in a monologue. And I would like your wisdom in how to get you guys involved, particularly the young ones, the simple ones, the older ones, and the mature ones. so that we can actually engage in this. I do have some ideas. We'll see how they work. But the first section, part 1, is the call of wisdom. I have it. And actually, I'm going to take it through chapters to chapter 9, and it has 6 lessons. Then the second section, we start working on some of the short sayings, and we're going to go from chapter 10 through to the end of chapter 22. This is just the plan right now. We're going to look at things. Well, the first lesson there's lesson 7. It compares the righteous and the wicked. Then lesson 8, the power of the tongue. Lesson 9, poverty, wealth, and generosity. Lesson 10, pride and humility. Lesson 11, friendship and relationships. Lesson 12, family life, parenting, marriage, and children. Oh, you don't want to miss that one. And then lesson 13, emotions, anger, patience, and self-control. And the way that we're going to handle those is we're going to look at broad sections of the Proverbs, but we're going to pick out the ones that apply, the specific Proverbs that apply to those areas, and we'll hit those. And then we will actually get into some of the words of the wise if we continue on into this. Lesson 14, 30 sayings of the wise, and it actually is going to be 22 through 24. Then further sayings of the wise, the rest of chapter 24. Then Hezekiah's collection, leadership and justice, it's actually chapter 25 to chapter 26. We're going to split that up because his section actually goes to 29. So we're going to look at Hezekiah's collection part 2. Society and the scoffer. And then we'll get into Agar's wisdom, then King Lemuel. We're going to look at his wisdom. And then lastly, we're going to look at the excellent wife. Those of you who can be wives in here possibly in the future, you might want to know what it looks like to be an excellent wife, and those who might want a wife in the future, you might want to know what an excellent wife looks like. And those of us who have wives, we want to encourage and acknowledge that our wives are excellent. So that's kind of the rough plan. Think about how to get you guys more involved in the nuts and bolts of it. It's not very much fun when I just stand up here and talk and try to ask questions and everybody looks at me like somebody else will answer it. You know, Glory's not here to answer. She answers all the questions, you know. She just can't stand the silence, I think. Anyway, any suggestions off the top of your head? Should we pick on 10-year-olds?
Yeah.
No, that wouldn't be wise, would it?
Tell Glory she has to show up.
Yeah, she has to come. I think Jane's missing her. Probably Ann Mariah's missing her. You know, I'm missing her. Are you missing her? You know? Are you missing Glory, Jane? Yeah. Yeah, it was funny. We were talking to the people up north and talking to the one guy that actually initiated we're calling it the rescue of Maria. And talking about how Maria just viewed Glory